You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, GH fans. It is Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we have to talk about this con that Damien Spinelli and Felicia Scorpio are running on Maxie Jones, and my suspicions that what starts out about finance might lead to romance. Let's talk about what's ahead for these two on the ABC soap. But if you haven't already, please click subscribe. And now let's dig in. You know, Maxie Jones is in over her head with her finances. She's got a mountain of credit card debt and keeps refusing offers of help. Because of the whole fiasco with Lucy Coe, Martin Gray, and the Deceptor, Maxie hasn't been drawing a decent paycheck in quite a while. The lawsuit tied up company funds, and Maxie was living off her credit cards. And even now, she's apparently not getting her full salary and all that she once did. And that's on top of her never being very good with money. Repeatedly, Maxie's mom, Felicia, tried to let her pay off her credit card debt or loan her the money to satisfy the debt that Maxie could then pay back. She wouldn't hear about it. She didn't want to put her parents' financial future at risk. And then Brooklyn Quartermain came in and also offered money in whatever form Maxie would accept it, but she wouldn't take it either. So then BLQ decided she was going to put deception into Maxie's hands as soon as she can wrest it away from her granny, Tracy Quartermain. But BLQ needs a minute to make that happen, so that doesn't help Maxie out of her current financial predicament. That leads us to this new twist. On the most recent episode of General Hospital, Damien Spinelli showed up at her door soaking wet with a story about a flood in his apartment. He needed a hot shower and a place to stay. As it turns out, this was all a big scheme that Felicia and Spinelli cooked up so he could move in and pay rent to Maxie for the room he's going to stay in that she can then use towards her credit card bills. But is this about to turn from a money matter to a matter of the heart? You know, right before Spinelli showed up, Maxie had just mentioned that she'd broken up with Austin and now he's dead. And I literally had to think really hard when she said that because I had almost totally forgotten that she had dated the now dead doctor. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And then the memory flooded back that he found her in the woods. She was in labor. He delivered the baby, helped her get to safety. And then back in Port Charles, they dated, but it was cringy. The chemistry was like non-existent. It was definitely forgettable in terms of soap romances. So no small wonder that it had kind of slipped my mind until she said that. So the bottom line is Maxie has been in a very long dry spell. I don't think she and Austin ever got near second base, much less intimate. And that means the last man in her heart, in her life, and in her bed was the truly awful Peter August, the father of her little girl Bailey. But a lot of fans have been hoping to see Spinelli back with Maxie ever since he broke up with his longtime girlfriend Ellie Trout and moved back to Port Charles to stay. So now it could be that Maxie's mom, Felicia, has more on her scheming mind than just Maxie's money problems. Could it be that Max Scorpio's wife is doing some matchmaking while she's at it? I mean, you could definitely see how excited Georgie Spinelli was at the idea of her parents living under the same roof with her. She was over the moon. And of course, we also know that James really wants a man in the house. He seems to want Cody in the house, but maybe, he'd be fine with having Spinelli there. And of course, we know the Jackal knows all about Maxie's cash-strapped dilemma because Felicia filled him in and then enlisted him to help solve this problem for her. But what I doubt that Spinelli knows is, and what I feel strongly about, is that Maxie's mom is matchmaking a reunion between them. And I would bet good money that Felicia is trying to fix them up, but didn't tell Spinelli that part of her plan. So do you guys remember Spinelli and Maxie's past? Because it's so messy and soapy. They didn't like each other at first, but then he fell for his Maximista while they were investigating the murder of her sister, Georgie, the person she named her daughter after. The Jackal had fallen hard for her, but it took a while for Maxie to reciprocate his feelings. They had had this one night stand where he had feelings for her, but she wasn't admitting to anything yet. And then she later seduced him to keep him away from another woman. And then a year after their initial one-night stand, they made love. And then he kept proposing marriage over and over until she finally said yes. So they were going to get their dream wedding. But then Spinelli realized she wasn't ready to be his wife. So he called off the wedding, and they had this kind of non-wedding sort of commitment ceremony thing. But then less than a year later, everything fell apart. That was summer 2010. And a couple of years later, Maxie decided she'd fallen head over heels and wanted to be with him, was ready to commit the whole thing. That was fall 2012. But Spinelli chose his gal pal Ellie over Maxie. And then Maxie decided to be a surrogate for her best friend Lulu Spencer and Dante Falconeri. But Maxie lost the baby that had been implanted in her, the embryo. And then New Year's Eve 2012, Maxie and Spinelli fell into bed for another one-night stand when he thought things were wonky with Ellie, and Maxie got pregnant. And then things got even messier because Maxie decided to pass that baby off as Lulu and Dante's kid after Spinelli said, no, I'm sticking with Ellie. And when it all came out, Spinelli was so angry. Lulu and Dante were angry. There was a whole custody case, and Spinelli won sole custody of baby Georgie. Maxie wasn't even allowed to see her, and she was so upset she actually almost killed herself. And then Maxie left town to do an Eat, Pray, Love thing and came back with horrible Levi Dunkelman. And then that led Maxie to Nathan West. And of course, she lost him when he was shot by his father, Cesar Fizan. And then she got involved with Peter August, and we all know how badly that went. So now we've done this full circle back around to Spinelli and Maxie. Maybe the timing is right. Maybe they're going to get a real shot at romance this time. After all, neither one is involved with anyone else. They share a daughter. Maxie doesn't have some bad man in her life right now, and Damien is totally single. Ellie is long since in his rearview mirror. So Felicia actually could be spot on with her scheme. So ask yourself, can Felicia Scorpio's plan put money in Maxie's bank account and also love in her heart and a man in her life? I frankly would totally be there for it. I love Maxie with Spinelli and have forever. So what do you guys think? Click subscribe if you haven't, and drop your comments on whether you would like to see them back together. And come back soon, because we're here talking General Hospital 7 days a week. As always, this has been Belinda from Soap Dirt.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.